evening. Welcome to the March 25th, 2026 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We are missing just one commissioner, but we have a quorum and are moving forward. I would like to remind the commissioners that for commenting, I will call on each of you in turn, so please refrain from speaking over each other. Also, all votes are done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you made the motion or the second. To our public attendees, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If, as an attendee, you'd like to participate in a particular hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, you will be promoted into the hearing as a participant. When you are selected, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act or the Falmouth Wetlands bylaws apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or bylaws do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. A positive determination means the provisions of the Act and/or bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you want to hear a negative determination. For the benefit of anybody waiting for a particular hearing, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. 42 Squibnocket Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. Chappie Yacht Club, Inc., 501c3, West Falmouth Harbor, West Falmouth, Mass. And 1209 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth, Mass. All right. First on the agenda is vote minutes. We'll start with voting on the minutes for March 4th, 2026.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 4th. Patton.
Second, Driscoll.
Hearing a motion on a second. Any questions? Hearing none. Vote the call for March 4th. Dave.
Cantai.
Dan.
Walsh, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
And Duffy, aye. March 4th minutes have been accepted. Next, vote on accepting the minutes from March 11th, 2026.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 11th, 2026. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions? Hearing none, call the roll. Dave.
Cantai.
Dan.
Walsh, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Steve.
Abstain.
And Duffy, aye. Motion passes to accept the minutes from March 11, 2026. Next, March 16th, 2026 minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 16th, 2026. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dave.
Cantai.
Dan.
Walsh, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Ronald.
Bowman, aye.
Ronnie. And Duffy, aye. Patton abstain. All right. The minutes for March 16th have been accepted. Next, we have a request for continuance under a notice of intent. Anthony Avini Jr. and Elaine Avini, 42 Squibnocket Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct retaining walls, steps, a deck, and a patio, restore the coastal bank, and install restoration and mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until March 8th. No, I'm sorry, I don't even know what I was just reading. April 15th.
Close enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Make a motion to continue this hearing and continue the notice of intent to 4/15/26. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
All right. Any questions? right. Call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
And I.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
and Duffy, I motion to continue the hearing till April, what, 15th you said, or 8th?
15th.
15th.
April 15th has been passed. Next, request for continuance under notice of intent, Mike Jackson, Chappaquiddick Yacht Club, Inc., 501c3, West Falmouth Harbor, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install 3 seasonal floats in West Falmouth Harbor. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 1st.
okay.
Make a motion to continue the hearing until April 1st, 2026. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. Call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
And I.
and Duffy, aye. Motion to continue till April 1 has been accepted. Next, we got a request for a continuance for certification of compliance. Timothy Liam Trustees, R&G Reality Trust, 1209 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth, Mass. Request for a partial certificate of compliance for Mass DEP number 25-4524. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until May 13th.
So, do we know what's the cause of the delay?
We have a salt marsh that we need to determine if it's surviving. They need to determine if it was planted correctly. We're waiting on that.
Thank you.
Make a motion to continue the hearing until May 13th, 26.
Correct,
Driscoll.
13th.
Bowman, second.
motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve,
And I.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion to continue till May 13th is passed. All right, next we've got a request for determination of applicability. First up, George R. Collins, 114 Edgewater Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reset an existing dock piling. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Driscoll, so moved.
Bowman, second.
a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
And I.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, Doug Mullen, 37 Five Gate Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct 2 dormers. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
And I.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, Michael Waterby, 43 and 45 Gunning Point Ave, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace existing timber decks with stone patios, install a fire pit, reconfigure a driveway, and install a catch basin. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
So moved. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
all right, we got a motion and a second. Any questions?
It's just a lot of work for determination of applicability, isn't it?
Sorry, I wasn't the one who reviewed it, Ron, so let me just look at it.
Sorry.
No worries.
Is this Gunning Point?
Yeah, it seems like just some hardscape replacement.
Oh, it's a replacement. Okay.
Yeah, there's already
Yeah,
decks
the decks
there.
are being replaced
Yeah.
with patios. Yeah.
But there's 2 and still cut. Okay. If you're okay with it.
Yeah, it seems like everything's pretty far away from the bank, so I don't think there'll be much, debris in the resource area or
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Do I have,
We made the motions, didn't we?
Yes,
do we need a motion
I think we already did that. in
Yeah, I
the
think we did.
Discussion.
for this one?
It was a question. Yeah, it was a question after the
Yeah.
motion.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, we'll call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
and
and Duffy, motion passes. Next, we have Scott Maciel, 41 High Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a new Title V sewer disposal system. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Driscoll, so moved.
Bowman, second.
motion with second has been made. Any questions? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
and
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, Francis J. Zinke, trustee of Francis J. Zinke Living Trust, 24 Edgewater Drive, East Falmouth, for permission to permit an existing dock. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
All right, Driscoll, so moved.
Patton second.
all right, got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? No, hearing none, call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
And
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, James Burgess, 296 Quistit Ave, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reinforce a structure with helical piles.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Driscoll, so moved.
Bowman, second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
and Steve,
and
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have a continued request for determination of applicability. First one, Keith de Betancourt, 77 Santuit Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Alyssa,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Driscoll, so moved.
Bowman, second.
all right, get a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dave,
Can't I?
Dan,
Walsh, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
and
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes. Next, Cronin Realty Trust, 23 North Bournes Pond Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install restoration plantings in accordance with Mass DP number 25-646. Alyssa,
Yes, so the staff's recommendation of a +4 under the state and a +5 under the bylaw are still proposed. The quorum for this one excludes Dan. The applicants are here to proceed with their continued hearing.
okay.
So I am going to promote Mr. Chairman Lynn Hamlin up.
Okay.
She would like to say a few words. Is Brian here too? Yep.
I think Brian Wall is here too.
Yep, I just promoted him, Lynn.
Okay,
Yep, he's coming.
okay. I'll let him start. And also, Jennifer, if you didn't get the note, could you promote the property owners?
Sure, what is the property owner
Sus-
name? I'm sorry.
Susan Carroll and Chris Heisenberg.
Susan Carroll.
They're probably coming in from two different sources.
Yep, I don't. What's the other name, Lynn?
Maybe Chris isn't there, but it's Chris Heisenberg.
I don't see a Chris Heisenberg.
It might just be Susan.
Yeah,
then.
we know
Thank
that
Okay.
Susan wants to say a few words, so.
Okay.
Well, Brian, are you going to start?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, good evening and good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Brian Wall. I'm an attorney and I represent the applicants tonight together with Lynn Hamlin from Hamlin Consulting. And as we indicated, the property owner, Susan Carroll, has joined us and would like to say a few words. Before you is an RDA which proposes native plantings in the buffer zone. And just by way of a little bit of background, the property is located at 23 North Bournes Pond Road. The former owners of the property passed away. And as a result, the estate put the property up for sale last year. Our clients, our current clients, Susan Carroll and Chris Heisenberg, entered into a purchase and sale agreement to buy the property. But during the due diligence period, it was discovered that there was a 40-year-old order of conditions recorded against the property, and it had no certificate of compliance. So the former owner, the estate, hired Lynn Hamlin and then ultimately myself, and we now work for the current owners, to look into the matter. And I'm going to just give this background. Lynn's going to deal with the details. Lynn discovered that what was missing from the old order was some native plantings in the buffer zone. The estate was obviously trying to sell the property, and so we thought the most expeditious way to deal with this was to file an RDA seeking a negative determination to enable planting of the native plants in the buffer zone. And our further thinking was that once the plantings were installed, we would ask for compliance, and obviously there would be a compliance process with your staff and with the commission. Further, our reasoning behind the approach of the RDA was the following. Planting native species in a buffer zone under the State Wetlands Protection Act is called a minor activity, and it's actually fully exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act. So thinking that this is a determination of applicability, obviously the law does not apply to an exempt activity. So we thought we could get a negative determination under the State Act. Similarly, under your regulations, planting native species is deemed to be what's called a moderate activity and is presumptively not to have any adverse impacts against wetland resource areas. So again, we're thinking that it's a moderate activity, no adverse impact. The commission could make a negative determination. So we appeared before the commission on December 3rd, 2025, and we presented the RDA. But due to the way that RDAs are processed compared to NOIs, the commissioners did not know it was coming and did not have an opportunity to go out and visit the site. And in addition, the staff had several comments, including some about the proposed plant species. So we requested a continuance to allow the commissioners an opportunity to go look at the site. We also met with staff, and actually, let me back up. In the meantime, the property was sold. Susan and Chris bought the property. And since then, we met with the staff. Lynn has made some adjustments to the plan, which she'll address. And we had the property staked to facilitate a site visit by the commissioners. Lynn and I also met with the staff by Zoom earlier this week and went over the RDA. We understand that staff is of the opinion that there should be an NOI, but again, our position remains the same. We consider this a simple way to take care of a simple problem, having some plantings put into the buffer zone. And again, it's exempt under the State Act, and it's presumed not to have an adverse effect under the bylaws. So what we're asking for is a -5 under the Act. If you look at the form, the WPA Form 2, a -5 is that it's an exempt activity, which we think that it is. And under the bylaw, we're requesting a -2, which is a finding that the proposed work is in your jurisdiction, but it will not result in removal, filling, dredging, or alteration of the area. I'm very happy to answer questions. I wanted to give that background. I'm going to turn it over, if I may, to Lynn Hamlin to discuss the plan details. And again, when we're finished with our presentation, Susan would like to say a few words to the commission, and then we're very happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Good evening. I revised the plan in response to staff's concerns about some of the species that were chosen. I think we had an initial discussion regarding the number of trees that staff would like to have seen in the restoration area. The restoration area comprises 610 square feet, which will fill back in with naturalized or native plantings, the 25-foot buffer that was supposed to have remained undisturbed. I know that the administrator's concern was that the existing trees, and I did an inventory of those trees based on staff comments at one of our site visits. But the administrator's concern was that those trees had been so pruned by the original owners that they wouldn't be able to go back to their canopy size. So we retained Paul Sellers, which I believe the commission is familiar with. He's a Massachusetts certified arborist, to do an assessment of the existing trees and a corrective pruning schedule, which I submitted. I hope everybody had a chance to look at. His findings were, as I'd represented, that there are sufficient number of trees in the buffer, or there are a significant number of trees in the buffer that can be correctively pruned so they will be restored to a tree formation versus a shrub formation that they're in now. So in light of that, that plant community is missing in diverse shrub species. So I chose to plant the area with a multiple number of shrubs of different species suitable for a coastal setting. I know that staff, based on yesterday's meeting, still had a problem with the St. John's wort, and I have no problem switching that out. Actually, their comments were interesting. Apparently, they have some study sites using that, and I look forward to their findings on those study sites. So this current plan, because I submitted it the 18th, or prior to the 18th, and our meeting wasn't until yesterday, we can easily switch out the St. John's wort where I now show it. I think I'll keep it short and try to answer questions if you have any, but I hope that you refer to Paul Sellers' report and the new revised plan. The revised plan dated March 2nd.
Susan, did you want to say a few words?
Brian,
Yeah, I
good
think
evening,
you're-
everyone. I'll keep it brief. I just want to introduce myself. My husband, Chris, and I are the new owners of this property. So I know when the property was before you all in December, we weren't part of it since we didn't own it. But we grew up in Mass, and it's been our lifelong dream to own a home in Falmouth and make it our year-round residence. So I just wanted to let you all know, as the new owners, we so look forward to working with all of you, to receiving your guidance, and to working expeditiously with your guidance to bring this property into full compliance, because we're super excited to be in Falmouth and certainly want this property to be in compliance with, all your concerns. So thanks again.
Thank you. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We have been requesting a notice of intent on this property since July of last year. It's not simply putting in native plantings. These are restoration plantings that need to be conditioned. Also, stump sprout management, we've never done under an RDA. That also needs to be conditioned. And there were other items, outstanding items on the property that we had identified, such as dry wells and an extra float that was stored on the salt marsh by the prior owners. We wanted to make sure that the salt marsh came back. That actually might need some help, might need restoration plugs put in. We just don't know. So that is why we are recommending a positive.
Thank you. Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, I will open it up for commissioners for questions. So I'll start with you, Dave.
I just have one question. Lynn, you mentioned pruning in such a way that a tree could come back to a canopy configuration. I'm surprised pruning could accomplish that. Can you say a little more about that?
Yeah, I've seen that done quite a bit. So what they do, I mean, I'm not the certified arborist, so we retained one, so you'd have a credible source, but I've seen them do it. So what happens when you cut a tree or prune a tree for view, you aren't paying much attention to the branching and the structure of the tree. So what the arborist does is he picks a leader and he facilitates the growth of that leader by pruning the suckers that have sprouted up from the repeated pruning of historic years. So they cultivate a leader so that that tree can start growing back again to its tree form to form a canopy. I've seen it done. It works pretty well.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
That's all
Mr. Sellers,
That's all I have, yeah.
Mr.
ahead.
Sellers
Sorry.
predicted that these would double in height in about 5 years.
Okay.
Interesting. Thank you. That's all I have.
Ron.
What's that? I'm sorry. Did you ask me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have any questions at this point. Thank you.
All right. Ronnie.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Lynn and Susan. I went to the property today. It's my first time out there. I met with, I believe your husband.
Yes.
And did a quick walkthrough. I really appreciate you guys trying to clean up a mess that is not your mess. But there is a process that we need to do. And I think the NOI is the next step. And I think you need more information and he was talking about maybe putting a rinse station, and I think all that would need to be included, and we could clean that up at the end.
Thanks, Ron. Steve.
Yeah, Jen, could you tell me again what your major concern is at this point?
There's 610 square feet of restoration plantings that need to be put in and should be conditioned to be allowed to remain in their full and mature form. The stump sprout would probably, that they're going to be constantly working on that bank over the next couple of years. So I don't know how that's not alteration to a bank, but we'd like to condition that work. We need to check the salt marsh to make sure the salt marsh returns after having a float stored on it by the prior property owner. Dry wells need to be installed. There was just several items, outstanding items related to compliance that we wanted to see in the notice. Ron, thank you for sharing that a rinse station is being contemplated, because this is the first we're hearing of it. So there are a number, and we were told that they were not, that the property owners were not contemplating any more improvements to the outside of the property. So again, I really do think it just needs to be a notice.
If I could address that, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I think when, at least, Ron, my understanding from my husband is when there was a discussion about whether this would have to be a notice of intent, they had a discussion about, do you want to change the footprint? And he said, which is rightfully consistent, we don't. We love this house. We know it needs work, but we are not looking for it to be bigger. We're just looking for it to be compliant. So we're not envisioning immediate changes, other than the fact that if for some reason this commission feels that there is a notice of intent needed, then our understanding is over the course of 3 years or longer, you can, I guess it's a 3-year thing where you could get a permit for something, even if you don't choose to do it originally. But we are not seeking to do any improvements that are not permitted or do anything that's not consistent with your guidance. We just want to do what we need to do, and we're excited to get your guidance and make this home compliant.
Thank you, Ms. Carroll. Our guidance has been, please file a notice of intent. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Thank you. I just have one question. Is there a reason why there's reluctant to file an NOA? I'm just curious.
I'd like to answer that question if
Yep.
I may, Mr. Chairman.
Of course, Brian.
So it began kind of from a set of circumstances. So as I was indicating, the estate had the property on for sale, and we thought the RDA would be the quickest way, because that when there's an NOI, there has to be a survey engineered plan, and there has to be notification of abutters, and all. There's a lot more information that goes with an NOI. So then, after the scope of what was needed to come into compliance became more clear, Susan and Chris decided to take the risk and buy the property. So they understand that they bought a property that's not in compliance, but they inherited the RDA. And so they wanted to see it through, because all the work had been done. We had had an initial hearing before you. And as I've said and Lynn said, we still believe that this can be approved under an RDA. But furthermore, I'd like to just very respectfully point out a couple of things. It seems like the gist of staff's comments are There are restoration plants and need to be conditioned, and there's things about this rinse station. But I would remind the commission, all that is before you is a proposal to plant 610 or 605 square feet of native plantings. All of these plantings are in the zone A. So once they go in, they can't be touched. It's a no-touch zone. And furthermore, there's also a compliance process that once this is done, if you see fit to give us the negative determination and the work is actually done, the plants have to take root and staff has the ability to make sure that there's compliance. And if the staff wants to withhold compliance until they're comfortable with the plants, they can do that. We're not trying to escape anything. We just thought this was a very appropriate way to do a rather simple thing and help out the property owner to get through this process and move on. And I would suggest if you look at what's before you, planting plants in a buffer zone, it's very simple. It really is. We don't think an NOI is necessary.
All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. All righty.
Did you get Steve?
Motion.
Did you get Steve?
Yeah,
Steve, did you have
I
any
wasn't quite finished, but thank you,
Okay.
Ronnie.
Steve, you're on mute
From
still.
you.
I had that question that led to ongoing discussion. So I understand what your concern is, but the petition is that we need to monitor the planning, the 600 square feet. To Jen, I'm sorry.
To condition the plantings remain and, and be allowed to grow into the fully mature form, to condition the stump sprout. I know Brian wants to stick to those topics, but when we went out to the site, there was a float on a marsh, so we want to make sure the marsh is okay.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could just address that,
Mhm.
I'm being redundant with what Brian said, but there's a whole opportunity to talk about the certificate of compliance, which hasn't been filed. And I have a lot to say about the items in the certificate of compliance that staff's finding non-compliant, but it's expanding the scope of this simple application. So we can talk about the marsh, but that's not on our application tonight. And we can talk about whether dry walls were ever conditioned on order of conditions from 40 plus years ago, but we're not talking about that tonight. I'm not prepared to talk about that, or I don't want to protract this hearing into something that's not relevant. All we're here tonight is simply to plant some native plants. And personally, I wouldn't ask for the certificate of compliance until those plants are established. And a staff could deny it based on multiple reasons, but we're not seeking a certificate of compliance tonight. We're simply seeking to plant native plants in a buffer zone.
Thank you. All right. Commissioners, it's your pleasure. Oh, Dave.
A question for Jen. Jen, are you uncomfortable with just I know there are other issues, but are you uncomfortable with just going with a narrower tonight? Do we have to include all the other issues as well, or can we just go with the plantings as is being suggested here? Is there a reason why you don't want to go with just the plantings right now?
I would say that the planting 610 square feet of restoration plantings do need to be conditioned. So even if you're strictly talking about the plantings in the stump sprout of the bank, I would still say our recommendation is a positive, because they're restoration plantings going in an A's buffer zone. And you usually, quite frequently, condition those types of projects.
And we can't condition, of course, we can't condition an RDA.
No.
Is there the procedure? Okay.
That's not actually true. If I could say something about that, you could give a -3, and if you look at the form, it says a -3 is the work described in the request is within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction. And then it says, therefore, said work does not require an NOI subject to the following conditions. And there's a spot to put in conditions. So you could give a -3 if you wanted to.
If you cite the plan, which you will have to cite, on the plan, I have failed plantings had to be replaced to a 90% survival. And then you're approving the plan, which by virtue is approving that condition.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I know what the staff are still sticking to what their recommendations are. So if anybody wants to make a motion on this, I will entertain one.
I'm not exactly sure what the motion should be right now.
Well, if you like it, you'd make, well, the motion is a positive one. So you would move to accept the
All right, so
RDA.
make a move.
That's the motion.
All right, I'll make a move to accept the recommendations of the staff as a positive on this determination of applicability. Driscoll.
Have a second.
Kent, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Dave.
How do we vote? Positive or negative? Is that how we vote? Or-
If you don't want it to go through, it's a negative. Oh, Jen.
So Dave, if you want to accept staff's recommendation and require a notice of intent, you say Kent, aye. If you want to allow the negative determination and the plantings to go under an RDA, you say Kent, no.
Kent, aye.
Okay, Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Steve.
Ben, aye.
And Duffy, aye. It's unanimous to accept staff's recommendation of a positive determination. I'll leave next steps up to Jen.
Yes.
This?
So we will be in touch with Attorney Wall and Ms. Hamlin on next steps.
Okay. We thank the commission for listening to our position. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Brian.
Thank you, guys.
Susan.
I'll be back a little later.
Okay.
Okay, Miss Carol, I'm going to put you back into attendees. Give me 1 second. Mr. Chairman, roll to attendee. Let me grab Miss Carol. There you are. Roll to attendee.
All right.
And Brian.
So the next time we see this this property, it's going to be under a notice of intent.
Yes.
All right. So all hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission regarding NOIs are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetland Bylaws. Although a single decision of the commission is issued if represented a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. I would encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaws and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. Please know that all correspondence received by the Conservation Department is forwarded to all commissioners and becomes part of the record. We will not read each and every letter received at a hearing. Remember, our jurisdiction is that of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetland Bylaws, not zoning, health, or building. All right, so under request for hearing under notice intent, we have Jonathan Hamilton, 91 Metoxic Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise an existing dwelling, construct a new dwelling with attached garage and porches, and to install drywalls and mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted the property owner, Mr. Hamilton, up to present his project. Mr. Hamilton, you need to turn your video and audio on. And to do that, go into the bottom left corner of your screen and an audio. There you go. And we can see you. Can you say something, sir?
Good evening, everybody.
There we go. We can hear you as well. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be sharing my screen for the applicant.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna bring this one up first. This is the plan you all have. And then we did get an updated plan, either today or yesterday. We had asked John Doyle to go out and do some additional survey work, and I'll bring that plan up as well later on. So, I'm just here to share the plan.
All right, sir. You can present your work.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Hamilton. I'm looking to raise an existing dwelling at 91 Metoxet Road and rebuild with attached garage and porches. I will be installing a dry well on either corner for rain runoff. We'll be putting up some erosion control, doing some mitigation plantings, and that's about it.
Mr. Chairman, if I could jump in, this is the existing house right here.
Yep.
This is the new house being proposed. It is moving no closer than the existing house.
Mhm.
The mitigation plantings are down here. We do have some concerns. There has been, and now I'm going to stop sharing and share a different plan. The one that John sent today. So we have just a few comments on this project. It's pretty straightforward. John picked up this area of clearing. It also, if you've been to the site, this area over here, maybe not the whole area, but a part of this area has been cleared. Sir, John did stake it, and you saw that that clearing was on your property.
So that is on my property now, but it wasn't my property when it was cleared. It was the neighbor's property.
Yeah, we
I am,
understand. Yeah.
I'm happy to replant that with cedar trees or whatever you guys suggest I replant it with.
Okay. And all the stuff that's being stored right here, I think there was a trailer of some store or something like that. Is that stuff going to be moved somewhere else, or do you plan on keeping it in this area?
I would like to keep it there. I don't really have anywhere else to put it.
Okay. Okay, so we can work with the applicant, Mr. Chairman, to kind of come up with some additional replanting areas. Can I stop sharing?
You can.
Okay. Our only concern was like just the clearing that had taken place in the buffer, and we can work with the applicant on developing a plan to restore that area.
Excellent. All right, I'll open it up for commissioners for any questions for the applicant. Dan.
No question. Sounds like a good plan.
Ron.
The mitigation area, why is there a mitigation area? Is it a porch and going to the buffer zone? Is that it?
No, there was just an increase in impervious surface. Ron.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
That
John
wasn't on the plan.
has it on. Yeah,
That
see,
wasn't on the plan, was it?
It
Right.
was. Here, I can share again and show you. It's in the bottom. It's in the new plan. It's in the bottom
All right.
left. I don't know if it was on his original plan. Let me check. Yeah, on the original
An
plan that
increase
you
of
guys,
212 square.
yeah, bottom left-hand corner. He has
Yeah.
his mitigation calcs.
Okay. All right, I'm all set, thanks.
Steve.
No, I don't have any questions. Good luck, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Ronnie.
Ditto.
Dave.
I'm all set. Thanks.
And I'm all set too. All right. I will
You can make a
entertain
motion to issue a order of conditions.
Nope,
Driscoll.
you're making a motion to close the hearing.
Close the hearing, sorry.
Take it
Close the
as a
hearing.
Okay.
Bowman second.
Driscoll.
All right, we had a motion on a second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Dan.
Walsh, aye.
Wait, one second. Steve, did you raise your hand?
No, didn't we look at this a year ago or so? Jen,
I don't
Alyssa?
remember.
I don't think so. There's another Metoxic Road is across the
Yeah,
street.
it's on a little further down the road.
We
No,
did
so-
see one
Mm.
recently where there was a very, very small house that's been pushed back. And then there was the one that was very close to
I'm
the
sorry,
coastal
never
bank.
mind. I was sure I was in that driveway before. Okay,
All right, so Ron,
you have two-wheel drive, you remember these things. believe
Driscoll Eye.
me. Pat and
Steve.
I,
Ronnie,
Bowman, I.
Dave,
Kent, I.
and Duffy, aye. Motion passes to close the hearing, take it under consent. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Hamilton. What happens next, sir, is the board will vote an order of conditions at their next hearing. And we will issue that order to you, okay?
Okay, when is the next hearing?
Next week.
Yeah.
Next week, April 1st.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
not a problem. Have a good night,
Good luck.
sir.
Bye-bye.
Next, we have Stephen and Susan Byrne, 55 Grove Street, Falmouth, Mass, for after-the-fact approval of the reconstruction of a retaining wall and for permission to construct an addition, reconstruct a portion of a house, remove an unpermitted patio, permit the unpermitted driveway expansion and stone walls, and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, I have promoted Bill Colley from Colley Site Services to present his project. Bill, you with us? You over
There
there.
you are.
Okay. Good evening.
Bill, do you need me to share my plan for
I
you, or are
would
you
like
gonna
to-
do that?
I would like to share the plan of the proposed site plan,
Okay.
please.
Okay. Do you want to share
You want me
it?
to do that for you, Bill?
If you could, please.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll do that. Hang on, I got you uploaded too. Give me 1 second. Where's the plan? Whoa.
I mean, if it's easier, I can do it.
She's doing it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay. I got it for you, Bill. I'm getting there, guys. Sorry. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, my name is Bill Cawley of Cawley Site Services. We prepared this plan for Stephen and Susan Burns of 55 Grove Street. There are 2 or 3 issues I'd like to talk about. This job initially started out as a small proposed addition, 6 foot by 12.5 feet. Also raising this back end of the house because they want to put a full foundation in there to continue there. They are going to be taking the roof off just to reconfigure the floor space on the second floor, but it's not expanding. Okay, so that was the initial part. As we became aware of, as the project was moving forward, that this existing patio in the back was never permitted. So that we are planning on removing it. Also on the front side, the stone wall there used to be an existing concrete wall across the southern, along Grove Street there. Back in 2010 or 11, unknowingly, he wanted to expand his parking because it was very limited. It was just one small alleyway, like 9 feet across in here. And he wanted to expand his parking area, which he did. And at the time, he was unaware of it. Someone had told him he did not need a permit. He didn't understand that this was in Concom jurisdiction. So what we're proposing is, instead of removing the wall and going back to the existing concrete wall, is to allow the parking space to stay. We've since it's within that salt marsh area, as you can see, we calculated square footage out here at 311 square feet. That was altered, and we allowed for 3-to-1 mitigation on that. Okay. Also, as far as the proposed addition, it's 77 square feet that we allowed 2-to-1 mitigation on because it's in zone, what is it, zone A or area, top buffer area? No, it's in the buffer B. So a total of mitigation was 1,090 square feet that we proposed. The only place we could put it was along the east side because we still have to maintain 10 feet from the house. So we put the mitigation along the east side of the lot and then onto the northern and western area of the lot. So we allowed for 1,090 square feet of mitigation. We added dry wells in to capture water runoff because currently it just drains down. So the feeling is by adding in the dry wells to capture all the roof runoff, we're actually helping the lot in the sense that now it won't adversely impact the salt marsh across the street from any type of runoff. We're capturing it all. I believe we've addressed all the major issues as far as this project is concerned, and we're just, it was brought up, we have changed some plans. We'll provide another mitigation plan. So, but I believe we've addressed all the issues that need to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Questions?
Colley. Jen, I think you can stop sharing.
Perfect.
Any comments?
Only that we want to switch out some of the mitigation for shrubs, not grasses.
Correct. Yeah, the three you had mentioned, aster, goldenrod, and blue stem.
Yep, we'll switch those out. We'll work with Bill to switch up his plan, but other than that, I don't believe we have any additional concerns.
Perfect. Alyssa, anything from you? Perfect. All right. Commissioner comments. Ronnie, any questions?
No.
Ron?
No, I'm all set. If we're all set with the plantings, it's a tight spot. There's not much you can do. Good to work it out. Thanks. That's all.
Steve?
Steve, you're
muted, Steve.
You muted.
I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. Dave?
I'm all set, thanks.
Dan?
I only have one. I think I read in the really lengthy description of the project that the mitigation was only going to be managed for one season. I thought we were trying to do multiple seasons on things, unless it's already been addressed in other discussions. I think that's what it says in the document.
Are you asking me that a question? As
Well,
far as I know,
I guess
it has to be maintained for, what is it, a 3-year period that they
I think
have.
it's a 3-year period, and I think I read one season. That's because that's my note is it says one season. I didn't write down the page number where it said it, but
If it was, that
Sure.
was an error.
okay. All right. Well, as long as it's corrected, then that's fine. It's probably in the back in your description and not in the form itself. But that's okay. You can find it later or search for it and just find it.
Thank you, and I get no more questions, so I will
Take a motion to close the hearing. Driscoll.
Bowman second.
all right, a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement. The motion's been made in second. Any questions? Hearing none, I will call roll. Ronnie?
Bowman, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
Dave?
Can't I?
Dan?
Walsh, aye.
And Duffy, aye. Motion passes to close the hearing. Take it under advisement. Thank you, Mr. Colley.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, how do I get myself?
And all right, next we have Mary Lise Carroll, 23 Zell Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct and lengthen the existing revetment. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Chuck Rowland of Cape and Islands Engineering up to present his project.
And Chuck, you there?
How's that look?
All right, let me see you.
Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the owners of 23 Zell Street. So with your permission, I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
I believe I have before you a fairly simple project, and I'll, as I talk about it, I'll be zooming in on different parts of the plan. The proposed project includes the reconstruction and maintenance of the existing stone and concrete bulkhead seawall with a vinyl sheeting seawall, as well as the expansion of the bulkhead along the southern extent of the property. And zoom in to show that. So this is the 72-foot return along the southern extent of the property. The existing wall currently serves as a structural bank and provides critical erosion control and storm damage protection from the property. The bulkhead is showing signs of deterioration and failure, and to prevent the structural failure of the wall, to protect the property from the effects of storm damage, the wall needs to be replaced before it experiences total failure. All the proposed work will take place from the landward side of the seawall within the work limits. I've provided a work limit down Westminster Road through our property using the existing curb cut. And I've provided a work limit to limit the expansion of construction from expanding too far onto the property. And we'll be using this for staging and construction access for all the work. The concrete and stone wall will be removed in sections and methodically removed with an excavator. Care will be taken care of when removing the sections of the concrete as to minimize any disturbance to the resource areas. The vinyl wall and dead men will be placed in the same footprint as the existing stone and concrete except for the southern expansion, and will be driven into the ground with a vibratory hammer. The existing bulkhead not only serves as a structural bank that provides erosion protection for the adjacent resources. It is assumed the bulkhead has not been replaced since it was constructed in the 1980s, and the structure will be built mostly in the same location except for the southerly extent. And the wall is generally being replaced in the same height. And as I said before, all the work was going to be done from the landward side of the property. At no point will construction activities or material storage occur on the seaward side of the wall. And access would be through the driveway, as I said. I'll just kind of run over the cross-section detail. I actually, in the narrative, I have a typo. It's not vinyl, it is composite, which is a much stronger sheet. So I've shown the sheets to be driven in or vibrated in after the existing wall has been removed. We're showing tiebacks that come back 12 feet. We think that this wall is going to be a much better option than the existing stone and concrete. Generally, stone and concrete nowadays really can't be constructed efficiently, and I have yet to find a contractor that's willing to install it and warranty the work. I can run over some of the concerns that the staff came up with. Aerial photos show the vessel storage on the coastal beach. This can no longer be stored in the resource area. We're fine with that. Staff recommends the Rugosa Rose is reinstalled on site. Also, the restoration areas can be reconfigured in Zone A. If preferred, staff can review planting areas on an updated survey. Obviously, we'll be okay with staff's recommendations for plants in those areas that I have marked on there. I think I stuck with beach plum and another saltwater tolerant one, but we're happy with whatever staff recommends. As for the gravel driveway, it's commented that there was a alteration in about 2017, and this can be approved and after the fact, given the area is solely in the located AE flood zone. I'm assuming that means it's getting approved under this filing, but I guess Jen or Alyssa can comment on that. And then the big comment is how is the removal of the existing wall going to impact the integrity of the wall portion to remain in the road layout? And I can actually go over that real quick. After this comment, and I think it's a very good question, my understanding was that it is a structural standalone wall, and that's kind of a hard analysis to come up with without doing like either ground penetrating radar to figure out what kind of wall it is. And even then, it's hard to say what the integrity of the concrete and stone is in that area. There is a return that we showed here on our survey, and I actually took a photo of it. It's hard to say how that is tied in or the structural capacity of that return. So one of the thoughts I had is that we would send a tie back in around this area of the cedar. We'd have to get a small machine in here to dig this area out, and then we could drill a 2-inch hole through the concrete wall and then put a large steel plate on the seaward side of the wall and tighten it all up with a turnbuckle. That'll ensure that this end of the wall will be stable. My suggestion would be to place it on the southerly side of this return so that way we don't have to disturb it. Obviously, this will add disturbance of this native area, but we're happy to revegetate it afterwards if that is what you guys agree with would be the best solution. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Let me know if you want me to stop sharing or if you want me to leave it up for questions.
Dean, stop sharing for now.
Sure.
Thank you, Jen.
So I think I missed that second return. Chuck, are you going to have to remove all those cedars to do that?
Yeah, definitely some of those cedars would have to come out.
That's work that, but that's in the road layout.
Yes, ma'am. We could come up with a different solution to try to come up with a tieback that's all of it would be on in the road layout. Alyssa had kind of mentioned that, and that I thought you guys said you could be okay with it if it's in the road layout as long as it's in our half of the road, because I do believe it is a private road, so we do own the fee in the middle of the road, but we do not own the road. That's my understanding. If you'd like us to come up with a solution running closer to the that existing return, we can try to work on coming up with a little less impactful way of supporting that corner. If
yeah, I just don't want to see all those trees go. That's all.
I think that's fair. So we can what we could do is just we can drive a return probably a little bit further out. It would probably have to be a return that's almost 20 feet away, and because there's only a few feet between our wall and the existing return, so It might get a little tight in there, but we could put a dead man back there, and run the 3/4 inch galvanized tie back, put a tie turnbuckle on it and a steel plate on the water side. Still would work. It's just a little bit closer to the end there, so I think it would disturb a lot less of the vegetation. Some of the small stuff would have to get disturbed, but the trees would, I think, would be able to remain.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you, Chuck.
Yep.
And yes, Chuck, it does mean that we're going to approve the driveway under this notice for you.
Okay.
And that was it. I'm really just concerned with that wall falling into Eel Pond, and then the removal of all those of the cedars and the vegetation in that corner. So
valid concern.
Any rework would be appreciated. Thank you.
Alyssa, did you have anything to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, commissioner comments. I'll start with Ron.
Yeah, Chuck, just as I'm familiar with the property, and it's been there for years and years until they changed the current coming in from the Vineyard Sound when they reduced the spit on Washburn Island. And they're supposed to, the next year or two, I think Jen can give you the exact thing. There's some engineering money out there, and they're designed to even cut it back even more. So as soon as they cut that first down, Hurricane Erin was through, and the waves came directly into the property as opposed to hadn't been coming in for years. They just want to make sure that that's in consideration when you put up the strength and you put up the type of seawall replacement.
Oh yeah. To be honest, I feel an 800 series vinyl wall will suffice. And the contractor, due to the material there, asked me to switch it to composite, which is, I mean, it's like, I think it's almost half inch thick fiberglass. Essentially, it's absolutely this unbelievably strong.
Wave-proof.
I'm not telling you it'll last forever, but it'll be there long after me.
Okay, I'm happy with that, Chuck. You're young. All right, that's all. I'm all set.
It's actually 1/4 inch fiberglass, but it's still 1/4 inch fiberglass is pretty thick stuff.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute myself. Sorry, Steve.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, fascinating property. I was not familiar with it, and I keep thinking I'm familiar with that neighborhood. This is not technically conservation. What is the final appearance of the wall? Such a beautiful wall, and you're going to dismantle it. And I can't believe it was put up in the 80s. It looks much even older than that.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you have a very high energy area. So it is going to be a corrugated composite wall. We do call for timber, a timber cap, as well as a timber front wale. That does kind of break up some of the appearance. And then additionally, there's a lot of stone in the front that come up about a foot. So in reality, it is a corrugated wall, but it's not like a huge obnoxious corrugated wall. So in total, it's a 5 feet tall. 8 inches of that is going to be covered by a wale, and then the top foot is going to be covered by the clamping wale, and then a bottom foot of it is going to be probably pretty much covered by the stones that are there.
Thank you. I appreciate the detail. I really do. When I pulled up to the property, I actually was thinking, I was at the guest house and thinking, this is an awful lot of wall for this house. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave?
Chuck, I'm a little confused. Can you elaborate on what that really long return? What's the overall purpose of it?
Oh, that's a really good question. So off of the plan, and you can't see it, so there is Westminster and then there's an abutter, and all of that is a beach. And it has definitely sustained some very heavy erosion throughout the years. And my client is looking for a really long-term solution. And as you can, I don't know if you actually walk down Westminster, but there's a lot of trees that have already started to fall into the road that's past the existing. And so that's kind of experienced probably 5, maybe a little bit more feet of erosion. But on the southerly side, especially, I can't remember who commented about the opening up of that inlet, is just experienced a lot of erosion. And so my client was very concerned, and I actually think I designed a shorter return, and she had wanted a really long-term stable wall. And so I felt that at this time, as opposed to come back for a longer wall at any point, if we go for a 70-foot return, it's really going to be a really long-term solution with very little impact to the resource, as well as protect the property.
Because I was just impressed with, I saw the erosion down there on the abutter's property, no doubt. I saw that it comes in quite a ways because the beach comes in. But it still seems like it's a long ways away from that. I guess they're thinking really long term. Is it really a possibility that could really erode as far as that? I guess there must be. If you're
So I believe that the erosion is probably about 15 feet past Westminster, and Westminster's 30 feet. And then the line of erosion pretty much lines up maybe about 15 feet on the inside, I believe, is how I figured
only
out.
15. That's interesting. I thought it was more.
So if you draw a straight line from kind of essentially where that erosion, if it's a straight line running north, it pretty much comes generally in the middle of my maybe like the 3/4 of the way down that return. So it's actually not as much of a crazy return if you were to think about long-term erosion.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, it must be closer than I was just there, but that I saw. One last question. I kind of missed some of the conversation about the other return, but if you have that corner there of the replaced wall and then the return, okay, all the erosion is just south of that, and we have a lot of trees that have already fallen in. Was the conversation about the second return? Was that to try to shore that up? Was that conversation was about? I kind of missed it actually.
Yeah. So the staff's comments were that they wanted confirmation that the portion of the wall that is in Westminster wouldn't just fall down because we remove our portion of the wall. So, and I can't really definitively say that one way or another that our wall isn't somehow supporting the rest of it. There is some erosion on that side, some instability. And so I think it's probably belt and suspenders to put a tie back and a dead man in there to shore up our, just to show that our wall is, if it is holding it up, the dead man will take over.
I see. I see. So the concern is taking out the existing wall could cause carnage down there. That was a concern, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Dan?
So I got a couple of additional, since you guys covered a lot of them. Let's see. So this is maybe for the staff, but on the plan, it says the plans will be maintained for 3 years. I assume that just means they'll make certain that they're supported for 3 years, but they end up a condition on the property, I assume. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then so question for
Chuck.
You mentioned it a second ago too. You've got some wood on the front of the wall and the top of the wall. Just want to verify. I know it says it's pressure treated, but which kind of wood is it? Meaning what's it treated with?
So usually for dimensional lumber over 3 inches, it is the marine pressure treated. I usually leave that up to the contractor to spec the actual timber. If you want, I'm happy to put.
I just want to make certain it's not the old pressure treated, the old arsenic.
ACQ.
The wood itself is probably southern yellow pine. They use a lot of that.
I got that, but it was how it's treated. That's the question, really.
Yeah, if you guys want to, I believe that timber over 3 inches is usually allowed to use the ACQ, but
If you could get that information for us, Chuck, when you do your redesign, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, let me just keep going. So there's that one. The only other one I had left is you've got in the description on page 7, you've got that your intent is to only use silk curtains if you need to. And I'm trying to understand, how is that determined? Because this comes down to if all of a sudden there's a problem, it's kind of almost already too late because now you've got everything flowing into the pond if you lose a section of wall.
The silk curtains they tend to be a little painful to maintain, and we really don't think that they are absolutely necessary. And I figured as a good enough precaution that we would keep them on site for a length of area that we're using. So if we need it, it can get deployed quickly. So that was generally my thought. We really don't think that. I'd almost rather, if you're asking about deploying the silk curtains for the entirety of the project, I would rather have let's see here, a pre-construction meeting with a contractor giving their methodology to ensure that turbidity stays to a minimum and it doesn't disturb the bay, as opposed to us requiring silk curtains. There's really only a couple of contractors in town here that can really qualify to do this type of work, and from my experience working with them, they're very conscientious of creating turbidity, and I really don't think that this is going to be a project that creates a lot of turbidity, but that's just my thought.
Jen, you had a question or a comment on that I see? Jen, did you have a comment? I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, no, I'm going to follow up on Dan's comment in a second. I want Dan to finish, though.
Okay.
No, I'm all set. That was it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Me?
You go.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay. So I missed a couple of comments before. I was going to jump in afterwards. DMF is basically saying that every effort should be made to protect winter flounder. So that time of year restriction is January through May. So we'll be putting a time of year restriction on there for you, Chuck. As far as following up with Dan's question, another of the DMF's recommendations was Mass DMF recommends the use of appropriate containment techniques to prevent siltation in the marine environment during construction. That screams silk curtain boom to me. So
that's what this commission wants, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah. And then any work in the intertidal zone should be limited to low tide, such that work is conducted in the dry. So the board will probably, we're going to recommend some of these conditions to the board, so you may end up seeing them in there. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Ronnie.
Chuck, question for you. At the southern end, I saw a bound in the ground, right where the cedars are eroded into the water. And you get a stake to the left. Is that the property line?
I do know that we staked the wall, and the wall is so actually on the plan I have a few, I believe there's 3 different bounds that are along our property line, and I actually believe that on the there's a bound if you're actually walking down Westminster. I believe that there's one in the middle. I think that there was some bounds placed there just to show that where we own the fee in the road.
Okay, because I see the bound and it looks like you staked in the walls about a foot to the left of it, but the
Yeah.
flag runs down there.
If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen just so that way we can. I think it's time to upgrade my computer. It's a little slow these days. So there's a bound here. There's a bound there. There's a bound right there.
No, this one's right on the water. It's right.
And then I believe that there's one in the middle here, which I believe that either we installed or somebody installed to show the middle of the road. And then I think there's actually there might be one on the far side of the road.
No, I saw the one at the end of the road. So their property line is to the left of the bound, is what you told me. So they just have an easement there?
So this is actually a road.
A physical road, okay.
Yeah, that's Westminster. It's a private road, and it's no longer developed. It wasn't developed after our driveway.
Okay. Most of my other questions are answered. A question I had on the north end, you have that finger that comes out that separates where the swing set is. So you're not doing anything with that one. It looked like the end of it was deteriorating a little bit.
So I actually went there and I saw this wall. That wall looks like it's a lot more modern, and I don't think it's holding up a lot behind it.
It said 1930 something on the end of the wall.
Yes, right. It did.
So are you talking about this wall or
the finger that comes out? Yeah, right there.
We weren't really worried about that
Okay.
that wall, but
Okay, I was just curious. Why are you going through all this? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Thank you. I don't have anything. I've heard enough from everybody else. Jen, any comments? I know there was an email that wanted to be part of the record for this property earlier.
Yes, so I have several, I've received 4 emails since this project started. And I think that's just because I put my email address in the chat. So I do see someone's hand raised, but what I'm going to start with is I'll start with the chat that was put in, and the chat was from Elisa Gregory Bass. It's in relation to what year the wall was built, and it says it was first built in 1938. Second, the gentleman that asked if they could send the email has their hand raised, so may I promote them to a panelist so that they can ask their questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I promote to a panelist. Mr. Roth, I'm promoting you to a panelist. You'll need to come on. Looks like his audio is trying to connect. Mr. Roth, are you there?
Here he is.
Yep, there you are. Okay, so you're on mute, so bottom left-hand corner, sir.
Okay.
Here
Can we hear?
There you go.
There we go, sir.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just retired, so I have no use of technology anymore. Again, I want to start out by saying thank you for the work you could do. I have some very short comments. I represent Lady Fair LLC at 44 Jewelers Avenue, which is the abutting neighbor to the southern part of this property of the Carrolls. And we are co-owner of portions of Westminster Street, which is a private road. So I just had some concerns. Overall, we're in support of the project. We understand fully the difficulties with erosion. And because our property, as well as 4 to the south of us, have suffered the erosion over the years. I I do want to ask some questions for clarity about access to the work site, where that specifically will happen on Westminster Street, where the designated area to temporarily store debris and especially the construction vehicles. There's going to be some heavy equipment. This should not be on Westminster Street. It should be on the property of the Carrolls. And after the project is done, if there's going to be any discussion about restorations and any damage that happens on Westminster Street from Central Avenue down to Eel Pond. And then lastly, this is not in the email I sent you, Jennifer, but it just came up about tiebacks going on to Westminster Street. That is what we all know going back to the 1800s as the Collinson Lot property. And so I don't think they were involved in getting notice of this project. But if you're going to be talking about putting tiebacks onto Westminster and under Westminster, perhaps they should be advised of that. And that's about it. So while we're concerned, again, positive on the project, I think we're all going to have to address this sooner or later. We're not against anything at all. We just want to make sure that the construction is done in a way that doesn't impact Westminster and it will be repaired to a flat surface at the end of the project. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Roth.
Thank you. We'll make sure, sir, that your email is part of the record. Chuck?
Hello?
Where'd you go, Chuck? There you go, Chuck. We thought you ran away from us.
I tried.
I know you tried. Can you confirm that all the construction material and equipment will be stored on the subject property and not within Westminster?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, Mr. Chairman, I received a couple of additional emails, I think just because people thought they could email me with their questions. So if you don't mind, I will read them. I know we don't usually do this, but this one is from Lisa Bass. They are the daughter of a butter. With regard to how will the work be done at the water's end of Westminster if the new wall and the existing wall repair work is to be done from inside the property owner's property. So I guess you're going to have to access Westminster, correct, Chuck? If you're going to rework the
return.
Yeah, you're going to have to, right?
Yeah, so that, as we discussed, that return would be, that dead men would be in Westminster, but to avoid some of these issues, I'll come up with a revision to that.
Okay. The other question was, is the new 72-foot south wall the only section that will be bulkhead sheeting? Can that segment of work be required to be completed prior to June 21st? Probably not, because of the time of year restriction you're going to have. So it's either going to be work in the summertime or work in the fall. Do you know when they want to complete this work, Chuck?
No, ma'am.
Okay. There will be a time of year, well, there's going to be a recommended time of year restriction between January and May. So that'll push the project off to either the summer or the fall. Second question, when the new 72-foot south wall construction is underway, can hours be reasonably limited to minimize the impacts of noise and vibrations to the neighbors at 38 Jewelers Ave? We can speak with the contractor about what working hours they have, but we generally do not. There's nothing in our regulations that prohibits work during certain hours, but DMF would like the work to be completed at low tide, so it's going to be tide dependent. And what efforts will be made to ensure preservation of existing vegetation at the water's edge of Westminster? And I believe we're talking about that, Chuck. I want to see those cedars saved or replaced. And is it possible to require the homeowner entity to repair and regrade Westminster after construction is complete, returning it to the same condition as it was prior to construction and without any attempts to pass cost sharing on to the neighbors. This repair regrading should include the entire length from Central Ave to the cobblestone entrance to the southern end of the property owner's driveway. Chuck, is your client committed to repairing any damage caused to Westminster for the construction of this wall?
We'll make sure that we document the condition of the road, and if we find that the construction has caused damage, I'm sure that we can talk about it.
Okay. That's one. The other email, again from Eliza Bass. Carol does not have deed to half of Westminster based on Gregory Brainerd and Collison record. She has an easement to access her driveway, and they were glad we're restoring vegetation at the end of Westminster. And the last one was, is there any reason to be concerned that the intense vibration will destabilize that point? I don't know exactly which point they mean. I'm assuming they mean at the end of Westminster. But you're going to look into that, aren't you, Chuck, when you look at your redesign, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. I think that is it for public comment. Mr. Chairman, let me just take a quick look. That's all I have for public comment.
So is there going to need to be a continuance to redesign, or can this be closed and then conditioned afterwards for everything?
I'd probably like you guys to see the redesign, so I think a continuance would be necessary.
All right, okay with that.
Yeah,
Chuck,
I won't fight you on that one. When's I'm not gonna have this ready for next week's.
4/15 would be the next hearing.
And you would need it a week before then?
Yes, Chuck, it would be here for the 8th. Can you make that?
To be honest, it's kind of pushing it. I have a lot of work on my plate right now.
What's
after
the 15th? Yeah, we have the first. Well, you can't have the first. But we have the 15th, the 22nd, and the 22nd for you.
Oh, I like the 22nd.
You like the 22nd? Okay. Hang on one second. Yeah, Dave is going to be out, so on the 22nd. So we still have a quorum. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to continue to April 22nd.
Dave has his hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
Dave?
Yeah, just one more question. I've heard the redesign mentioned a couple of times. I'm not sure what that is. When Chuck does his redesign.
He's going to look at that southern property return
down
for
there.
us.
That part?
Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
It's a good question because I wanted to make sure that that was it as well. I think that I'm going to switch to Ragosa Rose. Any other comments you can think of, Jen?
Nope, just the redesign of that, and then make sure that the vegetation is either preserved at the end of Westminster or proposed to be replanted.
Great.
So I will entertain a motion to continue.
Make a motion to
April
continue
22nd.
to 4/22.
Yeah, Driscoll second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Questions?
So,
Seeing
Jen,
none?
yeah, I just have Jen. So
Okay.
you went through a list of things before that were more than just the redesign to the end. That were the changes to the plan. So there's a longer list of things that needs to be updated. Correct? The time of year restriction.
Yeah, but we'll condition the time of year restriction, the work at low tide, the silt boom. That'll all be conditioned in the project. We can condition the construction materials stay stored on the subject property and not within Westminster. That can all be conditioned.
It's fine. Thank you.
All right, we'll call the roll. Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
Steve,
Pat and I.
Dave,
Can't I?
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Dan,
All shy.
and Duffy. I motion to continue to April 22nd is confirmed.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Chuck.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chuck.
it.
Thanks, Chuck.
Have a good night.
I
Nice
will.
job.
All right, next we have continue request for a hearing and a notion of intent. Anthony Avini Jr. and Elaine Avini, 42 Squibnocket Drive, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct retaining wall, steps, a deck, a patio, restore the coastal bank, and install restoration mitigation plantings, and that is being continued. Mike Jackson, Chappaquiddick Yacht Club, Inc., 501c3, West Falmouth Harbor, West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install 3 seasonal floats in West Falmouth Harbor. That is being continued. And next we have Robert and Kara Martin, trustees, 58 Westwood Road, LLC, 58 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to conduct invasive species removal and install restoration plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to find who I'd like to promote on this one. Brian. Uh-oh, I think I just promoted someone. Yep, Jake. I'm coming, Maria. And Maria Hickey. So Brian Wall, Jake Fricky, Cape and Islands. Hi, Jake. And Maria Hickey should be coming on to present their project.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Which one of you guys is starting out? Brian, you're muted.
Sorry, I said that would be me, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the commission. Again, tonight, my name is Brian Wall. I'm an attorney with an office in Sandwich, and I'm here tonight with Maria Hickey of Maria Hickey and Associates Custom Gardens and Landscapes, and Jake Frick, a PLS, a professional land surveyor of Cape and Islands Engineering. And we're here on behalf of the applicants Robert and Kara Martin, who are the owners of the property at 58 Westwood Road in Falmouth. We had an initial hearing on this matter in December 17th of 2025. So I'm sure the commissioners probably recall, what the basics of this case, which is the property owners over some time engaged in clearing and installed a lawn behind their house without a permit. So this notice of intent that's before you is proposing restoration, including restoration plantings, mitigation plantings, and invasive species removal and management. We gave a full presentation the last time, but since it's a few months back, I'll just very briefly refresh the commission's memory of some of the facts. The property here at issue is a 30,000 square foot lot. On the east is Westwood Road, and on the west is Buzzards Bay. To the north of the property is a 40-foot right-of-way that provides access for the residents in the neighborhood to get to the beach. The property is developed with a single-family dwelling. The dwelling was authorized by an order of conditions that was issued in 1994. That order had a limit of work that was located a few feet off the rear of the house. And 2 conditions in that order are relevant to tonight's proceedings. Condition 1 and Condition 5 require that the area between the limit of work behind the house and the beach remain in its natural state. And since 1994, regulatory changes have now made that area what's called a Zone A no disturb buffer zone. As I mentioned, over time, the Martins have been at the property since 1994. They're the ones that built the house. They cleared part of the area behind the house to give themselves a lawn, primarily for family purposes and for their grandchildren. This came to staff's attention rather recently, and staff informed the Martins that this matter needs to be addressed. So in response to that, the Martins retained a team of experts to help them, including myself, Jake, and Maria. And we talked with the Martins about what to do about this. And I mentioned this at the last hearing, you might recall. The simplest way to address the violation would have simply have been to draw a grid across the lawn and plant shrubs in the lawn and call it a day. But we believe that that would not be a quality solution because at this particular property, there are extensive amounts of invasive species all around in this vegetation. It's not only extensive, but intertwined. And Maria was of the opinion that if the lawn were simply restored, over time, the invasives would take over and it would basically be not a very qualitative solution. So we talked to the Martins about thinking out of the box and trying to turn this kind of negative situation into a positive. And we proposed to them that they consider a land management plan to remove all these invasives, to replace it with native species, to restore the lawn area with natives, and to restore the shoreway, which is also highly taken over by invasives. The idea being we would provide a much more qualitative environment than what's there now. So we would turn essentially a violation into qualitative land management plan. The Martins agreed. We filed a notice of intent proposing this. And after the filing, we met with staff on site extensively. If I recall correctly, it was a pouring rain day. We were outside for about an hour. We had a follow-up meeting with staff. We listened to their comments. We made plan changes, and we presented those to you on December 17th, 2025. Despite the site meeting and the staff meeting, there were still many, many comments that were made at that particular hearing. And so we requested a further continuance. Since then, we've made additional plan changes. We've met with the staff an additional time out on site, this time in about a foot of snow, but we did it again. And we had another Zoom conference with staff. And at this point, I want to thank the staff and tell them how we appreciate all their input. I know that they've all put a lot of time into this, and I hope that they recognize that we have worked collaboratively with the staff. And I think that we've resolved many of the issues. Some were minor, like making sure all the vegetation is away from the house 10 feet. Some were more significant about trying to come up with how we were going to mitigate for the shed that was built without a permit. However, despite all of these efforts, there still remains a difference of opinion regarding a significant matter, and that's the methodology. You're going to hear in a minute, Maria Hickey's going to speak, but I'm just going to kind of identify the issue. Maria is of the firm opinion that because of the extensive amount of invasive species, the best way to implement this land management plan is to mechanically remove the existing plants, and in particular, their extensive root systems, to get all of the invasives out of the area and then replant in a fresh, clean soil. Notably, the machine that we would like to use for this has a boom that's longer than 20 feet. So the machine will not be going into this resource area. The machine will be driven down onto the lawn, and it can use the boom to do all of the work without going into the dune or the beach. Interestingly, staff is not opposed to the mechanical removal of the vegetation on the northerly and southerly boundaries until it gets very close to the dune and the beach. But staff has made it clear that they're opposed to mechanical removal of the vegetation that runs in a north-south direction, parallel to the house and parallel to the beach. So given the significance and the importance of this difference of opinion, Maria has prepared a very extensive report that we submitted last week. And that report goes through her opinion in minute detail as to why she believes the mechanical removal will have an overall better result, and why hand removal and treatment with herbicides should not be the methodology on this site because it will not have as good as a result. And since that's not my area of expertise, I would like to turn it over to Maria at this point, and I'd like to ask Jake to share the plan, if Mr. Chairman, you would agree to have the screen shared.
Yep, go ahead.
Maria would like to present, and Jake is here to answer any technical questions regarding, the technical aspects of the plan. So Maria, why don't you start with that?
You got it. For the record, Maria Hickey from Maria Hickey and Associates Landscapes. first of all, thank you so much to conservation staff for meeting with us on site in extremes of weather. Torrential rains, frigid temperatures, so much snow, and all the Zoom meetings, emails, phone calls, in-staff, in-office meetings. We really appreciate all the input, the guidance, being able to discuss things. And then also to the board, I've been watching the hearings every week, even though I don't have hearings every week, just to learn more about you and your thought processes. And you guys have done a really great job, especially listening to some very technically complex cases and making some hard decisions. And thank you so much for your commitment to the board and making a difference. I have been involved in invasive species management and land management plans for decades, as far out as Santa Barbara, California, Little Compton, Rhode Island, and then Cape Cod. This is what I do for my work every day, a lot of times 7 days a week. And through hundreds of projects, one thing remains constant. When we are dealing with non-native invasive vegetation, they have a dominant root system, which will outcompete and strip you nutrients from the soil. They will girdle the roots of our natives, and oftentimes they're altering the chemistry of the soil, making it very, very difficult for our native species to not only survive, but thrive. I can say with 100% conviction, I have never done a project where when we peel back even 1 inch of the topsoil, that it hasn't looked like a plate of pasta. That's how invasive and intense and infested these roots are of the non-native invasives. Currently, we're working on a project not even 2 miles down the coast, and we have been using a mechanical eradication. And I even went into conservation office and brought a bin to show them like what we find right under the surface, just to demonstrate that even though we do plenty of manual extraction, when you have the density of non-native invasive vegetation that this site has, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that when we do these projects, we want to do them obviously with the least disruption to our resource area, but we want to have the most successful outcome. And we want to not only remove our non-native invasive vegetation, but we want to remove the invasive root systems, because these roots go anywhere from 15 feet to 100 feet. I brought you a couple samples. I hope you can see this. This is what's right under the surface, okay? If I hold this up, you can see it even better. This is the caliper of what we're talking about. Can you guys see this? These roots are like thicker than my thumb. Some of them are thicker than my wrists. And when you do a manual extraction, what you're doing is you're taking pruners and you're cutting the root, and then you're painting it with an herbicide. And the risk to reward when you have thousands of roots, some that the caliper are bigger than my wrist, it's virtually impossible to eradicate the roots. So at least for the next 3 years over the life of the permit, you're chasing putting herbicide, cutting and putting carcinogenic causing herbicides into a very fragile ecosystem in a dune and in an area that I don't feel comfortable doing a manual extraction simply for the sake of the root system, and the infestation is so great, it's not going to ever solve the problem. So yes, we can do a manual extraction and cut and paint, and it's extremely labor intensive because on a manual extraction, you can only pull so far on a root. When you're talking 60 and 70-foot roots that are as wide as my wrists, I don't stand a chance. I'm pretty strong, but I'm not that strong. And I'm very determined. And again, it's like you're cutting and pulling till you can't get any more, and then you're treating it with an herbicide. And there's hundreds of millions of lawsuits out there right now, if you watch the news, on the carcinogenic properties of the herbicides that are used to kill these roots and these weeds. Yes, it's less disruptive to the resource area in the sense that you don't have a machine in there. But in the greater picture, we don't have a machine in there. We have our machine on the back lawn. The boom and the arm can extend out 25 feet. And the bucket, it's like a claw, and it literally rakes, pulls all the roots with us. We rake back towards the lawn. We can get down there, and the power of a machine, as some of you know if you work in construction and other industries, is 10 times what the power of man is. So I'm not recommending a mechanical extraction because we want to do it easier. We want to do it the most effective way. And we want to cause the least amount of damage to our resource area. Sitting on the lawn, yes, the machine reaches in, it rakes out all the roots. Staff agrees 100% we should do a mechanical eradication on the sides, the south side of the land and the north side. And then they had drawn a line saying there's a clump of sassafras, and we refer to them as seedlings when the caliper of the tree is less than 4 inches. And these are less than 2 inches. And they are so heavily girdled with vines. On the pictures that I attached and submitted in my supplemental report, if Jake wants to bring up, there's a picture that you'll see the vines. I'll wait till he brings that up so you can see. So yes, so staff had said they wanted a mechanical eradication done of the area where the sumac seedlings are. And there's 2 little sections of sumac. And if you keep scrolling, Jake, that should be in there. There we go. Okay. So scroll down a little bit more. So as you can see, those are all vine. Go back up because it showed the picture we want to show. Okay. So if you see this picture here, you can see all the vines that have girdled around the sumac seedling. It would probably take me a day to get all of them off. But what you don't see is what's below the surface. And from the hundreds of invasive removals that we've done mechanically, over decades of me doing this every day, minimum of 5 days a week, sometimes it's 7, I can assure you what is below the soil is horrifying. And we just want to get it all out of there, put new soil in that has new nutrients, and replant the site. And yes, it's disruptive to the resource area, but it's a one-time disruption versus on a manual extraction and then cut and spray. You're going in there on regular scheduled interviews and intervals to cut and paint an herbicide that does impact the birds, the bees, our beneficial insects. Because you have to remember when you spray it, it doesn't dry right on the spot. And you can have cross-contaminations if a bee lands on it or whatever. And we're talking not just like one little spot we're spraying. It's thousands of areas, thousands of stems that we have to spray. And to me, that's so highly irresponsible to the environment. Like, it does far more damage than a one-time mechanical eradication. And so I know I've frustrated staff because they want us to only do manual in this area. But I have to stand by my expertise and what I went to school for and what I got certified for and the decades of doing these projects. of this is what works best. Under a manual cut and paint, we are going to continuously over 3 years be in this resource buffer treating these invasives. Every time we go in there, when you have human traffic, you're disrupting nesting native birds, wildlife that may be trying to, build nests, whether it's fox, coyote. I've seen a lot of evidence of different wildlife out there on the site. We want to go in, remove the invasive vegetation, remove the associated roots, renourish the soil, and replant. So we're starting with a clean slate. The best analogy I can give you is if you have a kitchen floor that's white and it's covered with 2 inches of dirt. And the homeowner tells you, we want you to clear just this one section of the floor and keep it clean for the next 3 years and not touch the other section. And the section you're not touching, the analogy is, those are your roots that are under the ground. And if you don't get them out, they're going to continue over and over and over again to contaminate where we did the mechanical eradication, put new soil, and planted it. And so I like to pride myself on do it once, do it right. Set your project up so that your plantings not only survive, but they thrive. And I understand staff's concerned, given the site conditions, that our plants won't survive. And I offer you this, that we can condition, as most of the orders of conditions say, that all plants must be kept alive and in good condition. If they die, we have to replace them. There's been times that I've had to do that on sites that are very, very harsh. I wouldn't rate this as a very, very harsh site. I think the most important thing is that you want to match your plants to your site conditions. Yes, it's windy. Yes, it's hot and dry. So you put the right plants in for those site conditions, you're going to have success. Where you're not going to have success is if you keep a mesh of thousands of roots in your subsurface that are going to continue to regenerate and send up vines and vegetation that's going to continue to wrap its stems and its foliage around what's out there. Some of the infestations that you have out there are the worst of your invasives. And it will be years under a cut and paint of trying just to keep them at bay. And we don't want to do it half-assed, excuse my expression. I want to do it the right way. And this is what I get paid to do over the last, 3 decades. And it's not just on Cape Cod. I've been asked to go to other parts of our nation because of my success. And although I can really respect that we can agree to disagree, I have to stand by, we want to recommend the methodology that is the most effective with the least disruption to wildlife, surrounding plants, and even humans. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go out to the site and look, because we've had the worst weather this winter. And I did go out in sub-zero temperatures. I swear I thought I got frostbite. And I did what I could to tie orange flagging tape on the invasive vegetation. I didn't do a perfect job because due to how thick and dense the invasive vegetation was, I was limited to about 2 feet. And yes, for sure, there are a couple of times that one vine wraps up and it runs 30 feet, as you can see. It was really intense. So there's a couple of instances that I tagged one vine twice, but you get the point. And that's only a 2-foot border. The infestation goes all the way to the lot lines. And Jake, if you scroll down, I wanted them to see the root picture keep going. Keep going. It's at the end. See this right here? Okay. This is what's 2 inches below the surface. And these run upwards of 70 feet. This is a job site that's down the coast that we did a permit for. Similar, you know, almost identical invasive vegetation. And the caliper of the smallest ones, it's about the size of your thumb, just to give you a scale. The bigger ones next to the holly leaf, see the big ones on the left? That's like my forearm. So for starters, it's physically impossible to cut through that root to paint it, because these invasives have been in there for years and years unchecked. So when I first was, you know, called in as a team member and I went out there, I said exactly what Brian said. Of course, you know what? We can just present a plan that we're going to revegetate the back lawn and plant it and do our little grid of plants. But we're not being responsible in doing so because we're not looking at the bigger picture, which is this is a site like most of the coastline that has not had a land management plan in place, that has invasives that have grown out of control, that have just absolutely strangled and killed and made it inhospitable for our native shrubs. And they offer very little habitat value to the wildlife. So when we're done, one of the biggest things that I hang my hat on is my ability to provide a very high functioning wildlife habitat full of flowering and berrying shrubs that provide not only food but shelter. And it's a win-win for everyone. It helps restore our bee populations. It brings in beneficial insects. It gives the native songbirds a place to nest. And all of this is with very little disruption from mankind when we do a mechanical eradication. It's almost a one and done. We remove all the roots, we nourish the soil, and we replant. It's very, very minimal that I have to go in there and manually extract. Yes, you might have a random vine, but because we're constantly monitoring, I spot it right away. And that's when I would do a manual cut and spray. But for the most part, the overall point that I'm trying to make to everyone is this site is so heavily infested with non-native vegetation and vines that have a complex, very large root system under the surface, that if we don't eradicate it using a machine, which limits, we're not in the dune, we're not on the beach, we're on the lawn, we're just reaching in. But it's a 99% effective way of getting out your roots.
Thank you, Maria.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I well aware now. I know your opinion is on this. Just to speed this up.
Sure. I know it's past my bedtime.
much appreciated. So, Jake, you can stop sharing. Thank you. And I did actually have a chance to go out and visit the site.
Oh,
so,
good.
I'll allow Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Did work extensively with the applicant and the applicant's project team. I think we've got the plan to, where we can as staff, our position still remains the same. We are really uncomfortable with removing everything. We think it can be done. It will be a little bit more labor intensive, but we do feel that it can be done. We've seen heavily invaded sites before. We've seen other companies be able to do it quite effectively. And we're just concerned with the disruption to all the native plants that are out there. So our position remains the same. There are some areas on site we absolutely think mechanical removal is appropriate in other areas of the site. We just don't feel it's appropriate or necessary. And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alyssa, did you have anything to follow up with?
No comments. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will give the floor to the commissioners. So, Dave.
So Jen, I think one of the key things you said there in your little summary was that the mechanical approach removes everything. I think you said that, right? So mechanical will remove everything.
Mechanical would be to remove absolutely everything. There are certain areas on that site that we can support this type of activity, and there are areas that we cannot support that type of activity.
And the reason you can't in the certain areas, I know on the dune we're talking about, of course, is that natives are also removed.
Correct.
So it sounds like almost we have on one side, we would like to take out as many roots as we can of the invasives, but we hate to take out natives. Is that what it kind of comes down to? One side, the balance of one side or the other is one side says remove everything, it's going to be beneficial. The other side says, yeah, but we're gonna lose natives. Does that kind of summarize the?
That kind of summarizes it. Yeah, and then I just think that
With all due respect, we're replanting the whole site with natives and adding trees in.
We know
So
that.
we're not losing, we're not losing anything per se. Yes, we're removing natives, but we're starting with a clean slate and putting in plants and trees that are healthy, that don't have their roots contaminated.
Thanks. Ron?
Yeah, I was out there looking at the site. It's definitely heavily invasive. I think there's some reason here that we can go as close as we can to the dune or the coastal bank, whatever it is, and use that mechanical removal. But again, I'm with Dave here and Jen that there's so many native plants there. If you go into the dune and use that mechanical means of removal, it's just gonna rip out all the plants. And I guess we both said that twice already. But again, I think if you want to even go further, you can, if one of the agents is available, you could go in as far as you can with the mechanical and see what happens. I know there's a couple of them right at the top of the dune, right between some of the natives that look like it'd be, you could easily pull them out with the mechanical. You wouldn't have to do the cut and swipe, but others that you're just going to remove all the trees and everything else out there. So that's what I have to say. Thanks. Bye. All set.
Dave, I'll get back to you at the end. Dan?
So am I on the quorum for this one? Okay.
Dan,
Alyssa, I think you're muted, but I think you said no.
All right.
No.
Is anybody else not on the quorum, Alyssa?
The quorum is Dave, Ron, Ronnie, Steve, and Bill.
All right.
But I do
Sorry
have
about that,
questions.
Dan.
I do have questions for you though that might help. Can somebody put the picture back up of the property?
The plan.
Whoever's got it. Yeah, the plot plan there. So in the back, can you explain the colors and what the difference is? I got the lawn. Is the red the area that you want to do all the removal on in the back?
Okay, so see the blue line?
That's a yes or no question. Just
Yes.
Is the red the area you want to do removal on?
No.
No.
Okay. Where is it then?
The area, so the machine sits on the back lawn. If you see where see the green band closest to the house?
Yeah.
That's where the machine sits. The machine only reaches in as far as the blue line is. See that blue hash line?
Yep. Okay.
That's it.
Got it.
And actually, Jake outlined it where it says.
And how much depth are you guys trying to remove of the soil out of that?
So I'm going to go down as far as we find roots. The site we were on today, we went down 2 feet. Sometimes we only have to go a foot down.
So
but no matter what we go down and take out, we replace. So the grade and the elevation does not change. And whatever gets taken out gets replanted. So I don't want anyone to feel like we're stripping a site and then not putting natives back in. We're putting in trees, we're putting in shrubs,
Yeah, I think we got that part. Okay, I was just trying to figure out how much damage was going to be done back there. I got it.
Mr. Chairman,
Technically not in the dune.
Mr. Chairman,
So-
may I interject briefly here? I think that was an excellent question. When I gave the presentation and when Maria gave hers, we kind of picked up where we left off last time. But there have been significant changes to the plan, and Jake has got it up there now. Going from the ocean side, the west side moving east, one of the things we did was we pulled the limit of work back extensively compared to the last plan. Secondly, if you can see that box, it says manual extraction of non-natives. What Maria was saying, and Jake, maybe you can just either show or take over, the mechanical removal is not of the entire area. It's just in the designated area. And maybe Jake, why don't you take over and show that area?
So this area here that I'm outlining, and this, which is has a green hatching on it, is identified as a manual extraction area. And so all of these trees within this area are all going to remain. This is going to be worked with the cut and paint technique, because we recognize that this is very heavily vegetated with natives, and a manual extraction would be too devastating for this portion of the site. Let me clear all of that off of there. Outside of that area, everything else that has a colorized hatch to it will be treated with the mechanical extraction. And the different colors, to answer the question about that, are related to what the species of plant is that will be replanted in that area. And there's a key code off to the side that identifies all the different species, along with these little green bubbles that identify the species within this area. But there is, even though we've discussed this manual versus mechanical, there is some area which is going to still remain as manual extraction, which is a portion of which is the area that staff was very concerned about. And we are still proposing to do mechanical on the rest of the area, but this is manual in this area here.
Can you just outline the rest of the area for the mechanical in the back? I get the north and south side, but on that.
Okay, so it's everything that isn't.
So it's north of that line.
Right there. So it's this all through here, all the way to the road, and then along this side of the property line here. Inside of this scalloped edge right here, this is all a lawn so there will be a mechanical removal of the lawn, and there's in this area is some ornamental planting all along. There's a scalloped edge that runs along here, and that's an existing disturbed ornamental planting area. And so really the area of natives is just from that scalloped edge out to our limit of work. That is sort of the area of contention.
Right, that's the only area of disagreement right now.
Got it.
Okay.
So Jen, I haven't been to the property, so because I didn't think I was on a quorum, but I'm just trying to figure out. So when you were referring to all of the natives that you were worried about, were they both in both the sort of northern section and southern section of the back area?
The section we're concerned with, Dan, runs from that sand path
Okay.
south to the property line.
All right. So everything in the back.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not sure that was an accurate statement. I might have misunderstood you, Jen, but I think the area of disagreement is from the sand path south about halfway to the property
Sorry,
line.
Brian, you're right, because you're doing manual. So
Right.
sand path, a little above the sand path because there's sumac in there, and then from the sand path down to the hatch mark.
Exactly.
That's still where we're concerned
Right,
with.
that's the only area. We're going to do manual south of that area. It's just that particular area. We are making the case that mechanical would be the best way to do it there because of the nature of what's there. and staff is of a different opinion, which we respect, but we respectfully disagree.
Understood. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jake. You can stop sharing. All right. Who didn't I get to? Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentations, one and all. And I believe we've been compromising on the area to be mechanically harvested, so to speak. Is that correct?
What do you mean by compromising?
We started at one point and we're at a point where not as much is going to be mechanically harvested.
Right.
Jen?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. It sounds like a reasonable approach, I gotta say. Thanks, Dan, although not on the quorum, it helped me understand a little bit more about the delineation of the area to be mechanically dealt with. So thank you.
All right. Ronnie?
Thank you all and thank you, Maria, for that presentation. I think it was similar to what you did earlier. Something definitely has to be done with them invasives. And if you had to do manual for 3 years, are you going to guarantee that that is not going to come back right away?
I can't. It's gonna come back. That was my whole
Yeah.
point. And
Yeah,
I
'cause
want to do
before
it
you know-
once and do it right.
Okay. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
All right. Dave, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks, Dan, also helping us identify the northern and southern areas. That's really helpful. So the northern area, I'll just put this question out, anyone can answer it. There are some natives in that northern area.
There's 2 natives.
There are
It's like a
trees. Is that what
stand of
they are?
sumac.
Right. There's 2 sumac. They're less than 2 inches in caliper, which we consider like a seedling. And the point I was trying to say in my supplement is we want to take them out to do the mechanical removal, and then we're going to plant new ones.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Right. We're not losing
Right.
forever the sumac. I
Yeah.
just want to
Yeah.
disinfect basically and get all the roots out.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if
so
I don't get the roots out, it's like rowing against the current without a
Right.
paddle.
So I guess I wanted to ask staff, are we, if they take out a few natives up there, but then they replace, that's not good enough? Why is that not adequate?
What was that, Dave? Was that to me?
If we, well, staff, if we
Yep.
remove some natives, a few in that northern area, and then we replant them, why is that not adequate?
It's going to be up to the board, and they're not, Maria, you're not replacing them with sumac.
No, I said I would in my supplemental that I would replace them with sumac.
It's not on the plan.
It says on the face of the plan, edge of sumac to be replanted.
To be replanted? Okay.
So I guess
To be
my general
replanted.
question is,
Are you replanting the ones you're removing, or
Yes.
are you replanting?
Yes.
So you're going to take them out and replant them?
Well, I'm going to put
Okay.
new ones in because the ones that I take out probably
Yes,
the
yes, we know, Maria. I'm aware. Dave, to answer your question, I mean, that's going to be up to the board. I think there's
Well-
just some natives in there that we'd like to keep. Going in there with a machine and digging 2 feet down into the soil is incredibly damaging. Again, we have seen several other companies be able to do this type of work with a little bit more with like using drip invasives. It's not uncommon in Falmouth. We see it all the time.
I'm only asking.
We're just concerned with the methodology. That's all.
I'm only asking,
No, I understand.
if we take out an invasive, and then we replace it. Seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
No, it's me. I'm asking for professional opinion on that. I can't answer that.
I have given you my opinion, Dave. I mean,
Why
we
can't-
think
why
it
can't
can be
replace-
done without,
Why can't we plant
for
invasive
lack
weeds?
of a better word, like Maria said, scraping everything out of a resource area buffer. We think it can be done in a less damaging way. That's all.
Well, I just don't know why replanting isn't isn't a good approach. That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Why can't replanting be a good approach?
Okay.
No, well, I'm not getting an answer.
I'll answer.
Well, David, I don't know what you're asking from me. I mean,
Dave, we've
I'll do
seen
it,
too
yeah.
many of these fail. There's an entire stand of trees they're proposing to take
right,
out that
that's
have
what I
been
meant.
repeatedly topped over the years, and it's now conveniently not proposed as a Vista corridor, but will inherently become one when all of these trees are removed. I've gone to compliances for 6 years now, and it's so sad to see all these trees proposed and them completely fail in these harsh
Why do they
environments.
fail?
You can see how wind pruned the trees are over here. And no, it's not as aggressive as many other sites that Maria and I have worked on together in terms of, that wind and wave activity, but it is particularly harsh. I don't have any faith that those new trees are going to
that's
do
what
well over
that's what I
there.
wanted
And
to
they're
hear.
all, I'm
So
still
we
talking,
don't
thank
think
you.
that the
And all those trees are going to be proposed on the sidelines and not back into its original position. It's one thing to remove a native when it's completely compromised, like there's a couple of them on the sidelines. We completely understand that. There's no reason we can't pick and choose and save these natives when we can. To go in there and completely remove everything is overkill, in the staff's opinion. I've seen too many of these
they won't be
not come
successful.
back.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
So, and
That's what I wanted to hear.
yeah, and the herbicide treatment will take longer than 3 years. They will need to either get an extension or file an RDA for follow-up work. We see this all the time, but it does prove successful, and those natives can stay and they can regrow and become a healthy dune environment.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Maria, I'll give you one last
I wanted to
chance.
make a couple of points. First and foremost, the chemicals that you have to spray to kill the roots are proven carcinogenic. I've had an applicator's license since 2013. I didn't renew it. You know why? Twice I've had cancer. Twice. And the oncologists are like, get away from the chemicals. That's just human impact. Never mind, you do have, when you're spraying the thousands of gallons that we're going to have to spray if we don't mechanically remove those roots, it gets into the soil. It impacts everything. It doesn't stay contained in the root. It impacts your birds, your butterflies, your beneficial insects. To me, that's far more detrimental to a one-time raking out roots that we need to get out so that we can re-nourish, put new soil on that has all the organic nutrients it needs for our trees and shrubs to thrive. And you guys, in the orders of conditions, there is a condition that we have to keep the plants and trees alive. And I have hand-picked trees that will thrive in this environment. I have other projects that my tree recommendations were overturned by someone on the board wanted this. They insisted on this. We had to put that in. It was in the order of condition. And guess what? Those trees survived. They did not survive. They've died. This is what I do every single day for over 20 years.
All right.
With all
Thank
due
you.
respect, I'm just trying to say.
Yep. No, I understand. I get it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. What is the commission's flavor on this?
The motion to close the hearing and take under advisement. Driscoll.
Bowman, second.
Got a motion and a second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Questions from commissioners? Jen, Lissa? All right, call the roll. Steve?
I'm going to vote to take it under advisement, but I acknowledge that I will be discussing this during our next meeting, at which I can't attend. So,
Steve, did you just say you were not going to be here on April 1st?
yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Dave,
John Ty.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Ronnie,
Bowman, aye.
and Duffy, aye. Motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement has passed. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your
Thank
work
you.
on this.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I know
Appreciate
it was a lengthy hearing. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Next, we have a request to amend an existing order of conditions. Mike LaCava, Purpose Propriety Properties LLC, 1 Betts Way, East Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions from Mass DEP 25-4958 to install a pool with patio, a pool house, and a fireplace with patio. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted James Garfield from Morse Engineering to present his project. Good evening, Mr. Garfield.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, for the record, James Garfield, registered engineer with Morse Engineering, here tonight representing the applicant. I'm not sure if anyone can either share the screen or I can share.
You can share if you go.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Now we can.
Okay, great. So we're here tonight for a request to amend an order of conditions for a new single-family home project at 1 Betts Way. The order of conditions were issued back in June 5th of 2024. The subject resource area for this project is buffer zones to a coastal bank. The new dwelling's currently actually under construction, but the owners are requesting to add some additional work towards the rear of the property. The owner has added a swimming pool, hot tub, pool house, and some patio areas in the rear yard. You'll note that most of these areas actually sit outside of the 100-foot Zone B buffer to the coastal bank, but there is a small portion of the project that is within the 100-foot buffer. We are not proposing any work within the 50-foot Zone A buffer. We're not proposing a new limit of work line. The limit of work will match that with the previous approved plan. We believe these changes to be minor in nature, and we did receive one comment from staff that the patio and fireplace we have proposed in the rear yard, we're showing it at 58.7 feet from the coastal bank, and staff has noted that this will have to at least be bumped up to 60 feet. I believe that's a local regulation to be at least 60 feet for a structure away from a coastal bank. So we're amenable to that. We can certainly add that as a condition of approval if the commission wishes it. So, but with that, I'll turn it back to you for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Garfield. Jen?
Yep, that was our only concern, Mr. Chairman, so I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garfield.
Alyssa,
You're
anything
welcome.
to add?
Not at this.
Perfect. Any questions from any of the commissioners? I'll start with you, Steve.
No, thank you.
Dave.
I'm all set.
Ron.
I'm all set. Have good luck with
Dan?
the pool.
None for me.
And I don't see Ronnie. So
Yep,
I will
Ronnie.
Sorry, no questions. I had to use the restroom.
Perfect. Well, I will entertain a motion to amend an existing order of conditions.
Make a motion to amend the existing order of conditions as discussed.
Bowman, second.
Got a motion, a second. Questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Dave.
John Ty.
Dan.
Bullshine.
Ronnie.
Bowman, aye.
Steve.
And
And Duffy, aye. Motion to amend an order of conditions as discussed has been accepted. Thank you, Mr. Garfield.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, and we have a continued request for a certificate of compliance. Edmund Derstapian, 29 Nauset Ave, East Falmouth, Mass. Request for a certificate of compliance for Mass DEP 25-4627. Jen.
Yes, I'm going to promote the property owner.
Jan, I'm not on this quorum and the next one is continued, so I think I can depart. Is that correct?
if the chairman allows you to leave the meeting, Ronnie, I think you're good to go.
I'll allow it this once, Ron.
Thank you.
Night, Ronnie.
Good night.
All right. Good evening, Mr. DeSapien.
Good evening to all members of the commission and also the staff. Again, I'd like to extend my appreciation to staff as I'm been listening to all the great work that you do, and I appreciate what you do, especially when I understand that all of you are volunteers. So thank you, sticking for such a long hours into this.
So just to recap this one, Mr. Chairman, I'll let Alyssa recap it for you. And then we can continue with the hearing.
Perfect. Alyssa?
Yep, so this was continued so that the commission could visit the site. There were a couple non-compliance issues that seem to have been worked out in this process. I do believe the last issue is whether the commission will require the tree replacement. That's pretty much it.
All right. Questions from the commissioners? Dan?
So, Alyssa, I thought that the prior agreement was to move it away from the septic and move it to the side. Is that right? Or use a different tree and what have you, just move it someplace else?
Yes, so in communication through the COC process, I identified that the replacement tree that had been removed by a previous owner during the septic installation was not on site. In working with Mr. Durstepanian about the tree replacement, we had agreed that an understory tree would satisfy the requirement. There was concern with the location. Some proposed locations were simply outside the property. The road layout's kind of strange, so it kind of appears to be part of the property, but it's or is outside the buffer. I had worked with him to propose native species. There was some talk about non-native species, but that's just not something that the staff can approve. Ultimately, I believe that the concept was there was no room for a tree to be installed in that side yard or in the front yard in accordance with being inside the buffer zone and within the property lines. Staff finds that a tree could be installed elsewhere, like in the backyard.
So the proposal then is just to essentially move it to, rather than from the front or the side, put it in the back.
Yes, my fear is that a determination will be to not have a tree installed simply because there is no room, but there is room. So, you know, a waiver to this particular application is one thing, but to make clear that should future tree removal come down and restoration be required by staff, that there is adequate room on the property for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Dave?
May I say something, actually?
Sure.
So I was actually, again, thank you, Mr. Bergeron, for sending me the documentation that was for February 27, 2019. In that documentation, which was for the upgrade of the title for the septic to Title 5, within that, it says that one of the items that was bulleted here is removal of a 14-inch oak. That was actually in the back. Right, and the reason was that we knew this tree will be in the area that the septic has to be constructed or laid. What I'm sure at the time, if the committee and also again if it was realized that the tree that was removed that was not listed here, if it was. I'm wondering how the committee would have voted for that, knowing that that tree would also have to be removed, just like this other tree that was listed here. Just as a side note, as I was looking at the documentation. And the reason that I've been asked to plant the tree is because this was an oversight at the time, not knowing that the tree had removed due to the septic installation.
Thank you. Dave?
No questions.
Ron?
So we're just gonna put a tree in the backyard. Right?
So you
What
have to
type of
decide.
trees here?
That's what we
That
need
it?
to decide.
And to
We
clarify,
decide
the
on what tree
quorum
and we put it in
is
the backyard. So if I'm all set with that, if that's where we're going. Thank you.
Bill, Ron, Dan, and Steve.
Okay. Steve.
No questions. I'm sure we can issue an order of conditions that will
Steve,
meet
this
our
is
needs.
a certificate of compliance request. The applicant is requesting compliance and the staff is saying there's an outstanding tree requirement.
Then I
of the
agree
order
with
of conditions.
Ron. I changed my mind. I agree with Ron.
I didn't even know what's going on.
Basically, basically until the tree is planted, we can't grant a certificate of compliance. Is that what's going on here?
I think so.
Yep. All right.
Yes.
So the vote would be to grant a certificate of compliance, and the vote would be no until the tree is planted, or can we suggest a continuance until the tree is planted and then come back for the compliance?
The staff
We
can
could
grant
do
the
the-
compliance once a tree is planted, if that's the
Okay.
commission's wish.
Yeah.
So
how is so this would be a no vote then,
Correct.
or to continue it?
So you have two options. You can close this hearing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a request for a certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
You can put a positive motion on the floor, and then if you do not want to grant compliance until a tree is planted, you vote no. We will work with the applicant on tree placement, and once that tree is planted, we will grant compliance.
Mhm.
Or if the board feels more comfortable, you can continue the matter until the tree is planted, and then you can grant compliance, close the hearing and grant compliance yourself. Either way.
All right. I'll go what is easier for you, Mr. DeSapien. It looks like there's a tree that's going to be planted.
So one of the requests that I had, again, what type of trees? Because I understand that if these are native or could we have a semi-native tree, and could it be planted on the side of the house in the rear, if that's what the requirement is?
We can work with you on the tree placement. It has to be on your property, so it can't be in the road layout. It's going to go in the back. We can
Yep.
work with you on the location. It does need to be native, but we can work with you on a smaller understory tree, as Alyssa had first suggested. There are a number of smaller understory trees that would do well on that property. Offer some color back there. They flower. They're very pretty.
Okay.
I've listed those previously.
Okay. I think it might be easier just to I'll accept a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the hearing and grant a certificate of compliance. Driscoll.
Have a second.
Second.
I'm sorry, Ron, when the tree is planted?
So this is basically if we're going to close the hearing to issue a certificate of compliance. If you decide that we can't grant it, you'll say no, and then when that vote is done, the staff will work with Mr. DeSapien to follow through with it and then follow up with us. So we're going to have it would be a positive vote with a nay, sort of a positive motion with a nay vote if you don't want to grant the compliance.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Motion is second. Any questions? All right. So who's on the quorum again, Alyssa?
Quorum is Bill, Ron, Dan, Steve.
All right. Dan.
Nay. Walsh is nay.
Ron.
Driscoll, nay.
Steve.
No.
And Duffy, no. Motion to grant a certification of compliance is denied. Staff will work with you, Mr. DeSapien, about the location planting and stuff like that. So
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
And-
Sapien.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, sir.
And lastly, Timothy Liam, trustees, R&G Realty Trust, 1219 East Falmouth Highway, East Falmouth, Mass. Request for a partial certificate of compliance for Mass DEP 25-4524 has been continued. That looks like it's it. So I will entertain the final motion.
Make a motion to adjourn. Driscoll.
I'll second that.
We
Walsh.
have a motion and a second.
You did.
Call the roll. Dan.
Walsh, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Dave.
Hentai.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Duffy, I motion to adjourn. Successful. Thank you guys all for
Thank you.
another wonderfully long night.